You want to just do it, someone whispered, half joking, half afraid. The rancher laughed, a sharp, nervous sound that cut through the dusty afternoon air. He had spent his whole life listening to warnings. Don't cross that fence. Don't challenge the council. Don't touch what isn't yours. The town survived on fear as much as it did on cattle and dry land. But that day something in him snapped. His eyes burned with excitement, the kind that comes when a person realizes they have nothing left to lose. The old rules suddenly felt small, cowardly. People were watching from behind curtains, pretending not to care, pretending they wouldn't remember. He stepped forward anyway. What he did next was unthinkable, not because it was violent, but because it was defiant. He opened the locked gates that had been sealed for generations. Land that had been controlled by a few powerful families was suddenly free. Cattle wandered, dust rose. Gas spread like wildfire. Someone shouted. Another laughed. Panic followed. Within minutes, the entire town was in chaos. Authority collapsed, secrets spilled, and long-buried grudges came alive. All because one rancher chose action over fear. That evening, as the sun dipped below the hills, people would argue about whether he was a hero or a fool. But one thing was certain. After that day, nothing in the town would ever be the same again. The afternoon, sun hung low over the town, turning the dust into floating gold. The rancher stood near the old wooden fence, wiping sweat from his brow. The fence wasn't special to outsiders, but to this town it was sacred. Beyond it lay land no one was allowed to touch. A few men stood nearby, pretending to fix tools, pretending not to stare. Don't, one of them muttered under his breath. Another leaned closer and whispered with a nervous laugh. If you want to, just do it. It was meant as a joke, a release of fear. But the rancher felt something ignite inside him. His heart began to race, not from fear but from excitement. For years he had obeyed rules he never agreed with, rules made by people who never worked the land, never bled for it. He looked around and noticed the silence. Even the wind seemed to be waiting. That's when he smiled. The rancher stepped toward the gate. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Someone dropped a wrench. A woman watching from her window covered her mouth. You'll regret this, an old man shouted. The rancher didn't answer. He grabbed the rusted lock, hands steady, eyes burning, and broke it open. The sound echoed like a gunshot. Then slowly, deliberately, he pushed the gates wide open. For a moment, nothing happened. Then cattle began to move. Dust clouds rose. The forbidden land, untouched for decades, was suddenly alive again. By sunset, the town was unrecognizable. Arguments filled the streets. Families fought over land boundaries that had never mattered before. Old secrets came out, about who truly owned what and who had lied for years. The council arrived too late. They accused the rancher of destroying order. He accused them of building it on fear. The crowd listened, really listened for the first time. Some wanted him punished. Some wanted him protected. Some realized they had been waiting for someone like him all along. That night, fires burned across the hills as people claimed land, freedom or revenge. And the rancher? He sat alone on his porch, watching the town tear itself apart and rebuild at the same time. The next morning was quiet, too quiet. The dust settled. The cattle grazed freely. The council's power was broken even if no one said it out loud. People walked differently now, less afraid, more uncertain. The rancher stood at the open gate once more. He knew he would be blamed. He knew stories would twist his actions. But he also knew something else. Someone had to be first. As the sun rose, a child ran past him into the open land, laughing. The rancher smiled, not because everything was fixed, but because fear no longer ruled the town. And all of it began with a whisper meant as a joke. If you want to, just do it. The rancher stepped toward the gate. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Someone dropped a wrench. A woman watching from her window covered her mouth. You'll regret this, an old man shouted. The rancher didn't answer.